financial regulations. Quickly on methodology, the Committee on Resumption held meetings and adopted Can I, Mr. President, go to the recommendations?
Yeah, you can.
Page 8, of the National Assembly. The Senate should consider setting the maximum time for the transmission of NDDC budget proposal either by way of resolution or amendment of NDDC Act. Recommendation 2, that the Senate mandates its Committee on the Niger Delta Affairs to wade into and resolve the obvious trust deficit between the NDDC board and its management. Page 8. Item number 2, that the Senate mandates its Committee on Niger Delta Affairs to wade into and resolve the obvious trust deficit between the NDDC board and its management to ensure that the Commission is legally compliant in all processes and focus on achieving its mandate. Number 3, that the ad hoc committee notes that without the approval and regularizing the 2021-2022 budget estimates, the Commission cannot operate the already approved appropriation of the 2023 budget estimate as required by the provisions of Public Procurement Act of requiring the approval and performance of the previous years. Page 8. That's the recommendations I'm reading. Now, 7. Region, the ad hoc committee hereby urges that the Senate do consider and approve 2021-2022 budget proposals of the Niger Delta Development Commission as recommended by the Senate Committee on Niger Delta Affairs, earlier considered at the plenary and referred to the ad hoc committee to investigate and for further legislative action, so incorporated into this report. Now, before we do this, I will jump to page 9. Page 9, item number 8.0. Page 9. Yes, at the back. The ad hoc committee thank the leadership of the entire members of the Senate for the opportunity given to serve as it urged the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. However, in view of the pending receipt of information requested from Central Bank of Nigeria, Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, and Auditor General of the Federation reports, the committee requests for the extension of the period of investigation by 1 week. So in the meantime, we go back to the recommendation. Yes, I have recommended, that is our recommendation 7.2, which I have read. So I wanted to ask for the extension to enable all understand that this report, will be considered for in 2022 and 2022, and that is why we have attached the 2022 budget for the approval of the Senate. So subject to further investigation within 1 week. So, Mr. President, we cannot allow infractions to cover our eyes. People who infract must be properly investigated. That is why we need this additional time. And CBN must give us the statement of...
Is it only CBN that didn't give you the information you have asked?
The new management and the board are working so hard to give us the estimates, the expenditure and the revenue profiles. And once we have these ones, within the next 1 week, we are going to submit our report of our investigation.
Did you write to the Attorney General, Accountant General, or the Minister of Finance? What was their response? Since when? Apparently, you would have an additional time, but let me take this opportunity here to warn the Federal Minister of Finance. When we sit here, we commit ourselves to working for our country, and we are serious. The letters, and yet not even respond, shows total lack of commitment, and it's irresponsible of them to do that. It's the same thing with the CBN. It's irresponsible not to respond to a letter from the Parliament. And anybody who feels he's bigger than this country should quit the office. Because the Parliament represents the people. And we are all living on the mercy of the people. So I expect that the Ministry of Finance, particularly the Accountant General of the Federation, will do the needful before we take him to task. This assembly lives up to 11th of June. And even if there's inconclusive situation, the issue remains, because this is about public fund. So it's not like, okay, if this assembly goes, that's the end of it. It's not. So I'm advising both the CBN and the Federal Minister of Finance, particularly the Accountant General, to do the needful. Give our committee the information that they have asked. On the other issues you have raised, of pegging time for NDDC to present the budget, I think the time has been pegged already by the Constitution. Yeah, you see, if they submit it through a NCC and so many other agencies of government, we don't have to start legislating on when each individual will submit their budget estimates. It's already clear that the financial year ends 31st of December. So it takes about 3 months to process for the next financial year. That's why we always insist in this assembly that the end of September should be the time when the executive would present the budget estimates. Thank God, in the last 4 years or so, at least by the first week of October, we received the budget proposals and we work on them. So it's not to the exclusion of NDDC. It's not. They are also expected to do that. Yes. And we have to continue to insist, both in this assembly and the next, until they do what is right. So I don't think we need to legislate that they must. It's already there. So, and I agree with the committee completely that time is of essence. The projects that are supposed to be executed in the 2023 are projects that are supposed to make life better for people who have been under serious environmental and other situations. And it is our intention to make life better for them. So I agree we can pass the 2021-2022 for the 2023 appropriation to be dealt with. But we shouldn't relent on your assignment because this assignment continues. Senator Betty Apiafi.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, I want to first making it clear that the NDDC budget should be submitted on time. But over the years, we've had these issues with NDDC budget. Firstly, it used to be submitted to the Secretary to Government of the Federation. And then the Secretary to the Government will take their time and for as long as they like, they'll keep the Chief of Staff. The Federal Capital Territory budget comes straight to the National Assembly. I don't see why the NDDC budget cannot come straight to the National Assembly, or why the NDDC budget has to go through Chief of Staff. So how do we resolve? Because I think the recommendation here has to state clearly how the NDDC budget should be submitted, because it's been a problem. Before it was Secretary to Government, now it's Chief of Staff. Why should it go through there? Why?
Distinguished, I don't think there's a problem there. Whether it goes through the Secretary to Government or Chief of Staff, all we want is we want it in the Assembly in time. No, because maybe this is an administrative arrangement, maybe they have some, yes, but all that we want is for the budget estimate to arrive here at the right time. You know, the other thing is administrative. Ideally, that is what it's supposed to be, and we should insist on that.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator George Thompson Sekiwo. First, I want to thank you for the sentiment you expressed on the suffering of the Niger Delta region people, and also making your input that the 2021-2022 budget be approved so that development could be fast-tracked, especially the implementation of 2023 budget. Mr. President, I think much has been said by Apiafi and also your response. For the past 20 years I've been here, NDDC budget comes in maybe around June, July, August of the year that the budget is supposed to be operated. I don't know. Yes, the constitution is very clear, but we have to work out a modality for them to understand that it's a constitutional matter. And I don't also know, we are vacating now. Otherwise, to put a caveat somewhere that if it is not submitted in the year before the budget year, 2 months, 3 months before, just like the national budget, a penalty against such agencies. That will make whichever persons they are passing through to bring it to us. But now, those people they are passing it through, AGF is a very busy office. Chief of Staff is a very busy person. They are all very, very busy persons. Because of their busy nature, they don't see this one maybe as a major thing. They can keep it in the offices for 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, and then throw it at us. It's a shame, delaying the development of the area. So I think we should make an effort, either by resolution, or I don't know, our resolution are not being respected, but either by resolution or had it in the recommendation, in this recommendation, that the budget of NDDC and all other agencies, all other federal government agencies, be submitted alongside with the national budget, that they can be treated alongside with the national budget about the same period. That will help us better. And say that let my colleagues support the passage of the 2021 and 2023 budget. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I want to agree with him, but the truth of the matter is that sometimes the problems are from the agencies. They will not submit their budget estimates in time. So if they don't submit in time to the office of the Chief of Staff or to, but it's the truth. Yes, so they must submit it in time. And I remember, Mr. President, in one of the budget sessions, you had mentioned that all agencies should endeavor to be submitting their budgets at the same time.
Piafi, we listen to you. Listen to him now.
And you were talking about the FCT budget. Of course, the FCT budget is also submitted to the office of the Chief of Staff, who also in turn submits it to the President, who will now write a letter to the National Assembly to bring it to the National Assembly. So I think that instead of us talking like this, we should ensure that the committee and the ministry ensure that they bring that is the NDDC, send the budget in time so that it can be sent to the National Assembly. I think that should be done. If that is done, I think it will be better for the NDDC. But when the agency itself does not submit the budget in time, what do you expect? And there must be follow-up. Even some of us here, you can ask Smart Ademi, he's there. Sometimes we have to even follow up with the ministry. We have to even call sometimes the office of the Chief of Staff because of the representation for the people of the FCT so that they can bring it. So I think that more needs to be done. And just like you said, maybe a caveat to be put that they must submit their budget.
Yeah. I don't think we have to do any follow-up. We are supposed to be very categorical and insistent. Follow-up. Minority leader, please face the chair. You don't have to stress yourself unnecessarily. Ours is to insist that the right thing is done. And we reach a point at which sanctions must be considered. But I don't think it's still the right thing that we go and start legislating on when NDDC budget should come, when NCC, when CBN. I think there is a general trend here. When the president will submit the budget estimates, these agencies should have their own included. In the 2022, there was a claim that about 10 or 15 of those budget estimates of the agencies were included. Of course, I didn't see, so I argued, but I insisted on the 2023 that when the budget will be, the main budget will be presented, the big agencies should also have their budgets presented at the same time in that box. So I think we should continue to insist on that. And if we don't get, we should not keep quiet. If they don't bring, we should talk that they failed to bring this. But maybe legislation, I don't know. Senator Said Al-Ghali.
My name is Said Al-Ghali. I represent Gombe North. Mr. President, I want to agree with Senator Sekibo, but sir, I want us to remember that this National Assembly have an oversight responsibility on all ministries, departments, and agencies. So I want to call on our standing committees to be up and doing in our oversight responsibilities. I am sure we'll be able to deal with most of these shortcomings in the agencies. Even the villa itself is oversighted by a committee. So there is no reason why we should lobby. And in the first place, if they submit the national budget, once it is not with the budget of all these MDS, we have to compel them to bring it along with the national budget, sir.
Yes. All right, thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. Maybe we go to the recommendations. On page 8. No, we haven't. We just debated it. Huh? That this ad hoc committee, having noted the current trend of allowing the office of the chief of staff to the president an unlimited freedom to transmit the budget estimates whenever they deem fit, may undermine the work of the National Assembly. The Senate should consider setting the maximum time for the transmission of NDDC budget proposal, either by resolution or amendments to the NDDC Act. Well, okay, Senator Saraki Eric Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my dear colleagues. Henry Siraki Dixon, Bayelsa West. Mr. President, as you may know, I'm a member of this ad hoc committee, and I want to align fully with the recommendations that have been submitted that we are discussing. And in respect of this recommendation, one, in terms of the timing and the mechanism through which the budget estimates will get to the National Assembly, let me remind us firstly that we cannot at this point now be talking about this because this is already covered. The field is already covered by the NDDC law itself, which says that before the end of September, just in line with what Mr. President has said, that the budget estimates should get to the National Assembly. The only thing is that it appears now, because of the lapses we have seen, it's as if there's some lacuna because it doesn't go into the dynamics of who transmits it. Is concerned, the NDDC Act. It says that the NDDC board and management should ensure that the budget estimates get. And because of this persistent of disobedience or delay, and in particularly in the context of what we are discussing, we are talking about failure to present a budget for 2021, 2022, and so on and so forth, which is why the committee and the chairman has made a case that to put it in proper context, we know that there are violations by other MDAs too, but as we are discussing this, to put it in proper context so that it can continue to serve as a compass for the new board and for other boards following, that I want to also support that we repeat that what is needed to be done, and we should direct it to the board and management that in accordance with the NDDC Act, every end of September, every end of budget year, they should submit their budget to the National Assembly. If on their own, because of the administrative procedures, which are quite frankly unknown to the NDDC Act, if they wrote it through the ministry, or whether they decide to route it through the SGF, or as in this case, the Chief of Staff, that is not known, it's not recognized by the law, and we shouldn't countenance it. So I am saying that we should, to put it in proper context and guide them, adopt this proposal that we should call on them to submit their budgets every year before the end of September.
Okay, you should round up, please, distinguish. Yes.
About the necessity of passing 2022 in view of what we have already done. And we thank you. Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, I want us to look into how the executive runs itself. I don't think the National Assembly will ask the board and management of NDDC to bring their budget directly to us. That agency is supervised by a ministry. And that minister or the ministry takes or should take this to the Federal Executive Council for approval, normally, like they do for other agencies. So I don't think the National Assembly will encourage that the board should just bring. Where do they submit it to? They can't come and place it here. They can't send it to the committee because that's not the process. It's the minister or the ministry.
Mr. President, the procedure is the budget must pass through the Federal Executive Council, and procedurally, all correspondences to the National Assembly in relation to appropriation is coming from the President, not directly to the National Assembly. Procedurally, that is wrong, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Matthew Rogide, Edo South. Mr. President, when a responsibility is given to a ministry as a supervising ministry, an agency of government, like we have seen in the case of NDDC, what does it really entail, administratively? It means that all the agencies under that ministry, when the ministry is submitting their annual budget, the agency's budget will come, with the ministry. That's what it is. So the issue of the minister oversighting NDDC, it is administrative. And then, of course, that one has to cover everything that concerns NDDC. So the whole idea of the chief of staff is in charge, the minister in the Ministry of Nigeria Data Affairs is oversighting, then there will be conflict of interest. I think what we should say here is the annual budget must come with that of the ministry as they are coming, because it's the ministry that is oversighting NDDC. I think that's what we should say. And whether it has to go to the president, because the president has already delegated that responsibility to the minister of Nigeria Data Affairs. So it is the responsibility of the Minister of Nigeria Data Affairs to ensure that their budget...
Exactly, that's the point, because some of our colleagues were saying the board and the management should bring. And I'm saying, no. The board, they have nowhere to go here in the National Assembly, because they can't come and lay the budget before us, and they cannot write and submit to the committee, because that's not the way. They have to submit the budget estimates to the ministry supervising them. And then it's for the minister of that ministry to take it to the Federal Executive Council for approval first. So when the president presents the budget for the federation or for the federal government, NDDC, CBN, NCC, and others should be part of what is brought here. That is how it is supposed to be. Yes, observation.
Mr. President, my observation is that the budget estimate to us before end of September. Assuming the federal government wants to bring the national budget by October, that contravenes. Okay, but then if they are ready before the national budget, or the president can submit it to us. It mustn't come with the national budget. That's my. As long as they meet up with the targeted time in their own act establishing NDDC.
Mr. President, I have gone through the NDDC Act. I have not seen where it is stated that Ministry of Niger Delta should supervise the Niger Delta Development Commission. I'm coming, sir. Because the commission has already been in existence before this ministry was created. And you will recall, despite flaws here and there, it became worse when the ministry started supervising it. And instead of the ministry doing their own work directly...
So what are you suggesting now?
Agency is being created. It's under the presidency. So the president should take charge. It's as simple as that. No, the ministry should do their work. Ministry should do their work.
Let's not waste too much time on this. All that we are saying is the management and board of NDDC cannot bring their budget estimate to the National Assembly directly. They can't do that. It has to come through the presidency. Whether it is the president or whoever, this one is their business. All we want is in good time the budget estimates for these organizations, the national budget. And like one of our colleagues have said, that if the NDDC budget, for example, is ready before the national budget, then the NDDC budget should be sent. Well, this is one way, but I'm sure it will be better if you have all of them lumped together and brought to the National Assembly. Well, so I've read recommendation 1. Those in favor of recommendation 1, say aye. Those against, say nay. That's right. Recommendation 2, that the Senate mandates its Committee on Niger Delta Affairs to wade into and resolve the obvious trust deficit between the NDDC board and its management to ensure that the Commission is legally compliant in all processes and focus on achieving its mandate. This is the work of the committee now. If there is any... Okay, who... Yes.
Mr. President, I think what the ad hoc committee has recommended is right. That's an ad hoc committee. They have gone in and seen some problems, and they are recommending that the committee should wake up to their own task and reconcile the members of the board. That is what the ad hoc committee will tell us here.
Thank you, Mr. President. What we have observed is that it has always been power to